up, Matt? Hello, Amanda.
What's up, man? What's going on?
How you doing, guys? It's fun. I usually get on here and it's like one person, so no, I feel like I got an audience. It's good times.
Mhm.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, bud.
Is it snowing up there?
Not yet.
I
Not
got
yet.
snow.
Cold.
I got snow here in Indy last week.
Yeah, we had one day where there were just flurries and a little bit on the ground, but other than that, no.
Yeah. Cool, guys. We'll give it just a couple more minutes and we'll get started. Hopefully everybody's doing well and ready to eat a bunch of food tomorrow. Hopefully you guys don't have classes tomorrow, do you? I don't miss being a gym. I don't miss being a gym owner and having to go in on days like that.
We do a partner workout at 9.
It's like tell one of your long-term members to run the class. I'm off for the day.
Oh, I'm not going in. I'm not going in.
You're not going in? Somebody else is going. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then it's not a big deal as long as you don't get any messages about it.
Yep.
All right, guys. So today we're going to start breaking these up a little bit. Kind of give you the lay of the land a little bit. So we're going to do one day is going to be dedicated to marketing, ads, any questions that you might have, we can get ahead of anything like that. And then week 2 is going to be with Tommy. If you guys haven't met Tommy, super smart with, if you have Tommy as like your coach, data and projections and ROI and like all of that, and he's amazing at doing that, and we even use him for our company. So definitely see the value of getting on the call with him next week. And the third week is going to be with Sherman, going over all the sales topics, all the questions. This month, well, I guess it's going to be December. Next month, we're going to cover objection handling going into the new year, right? Like, I need to wait. I need to talk to my spouse, like all those big objections, and like really how to work through each one of those. And then the fourth week, we're going to bring in a rotation of like 3 different people to cover a different topic of maybe systems and processing, hiring, coaching, whatever that might be, so that you guys get value kind of across the board on each one there. So today we're going to jump into, well, first off, let me say this, right? Like, this week is going to be, like I told the coaches, this week's going to be slow. Like, people are traveling. You might even get opt-ins that like might not even be in your area. So it's just going to be what it is. So like, Facebook no longer lets you market just to people that live in. It's live in and recently in. So anybody that, if you're a big like destination area and people are coming into town, you might get opt-ins. They're like, yeah, I live, I'm in Indianapolis. I live in New Hampshire. You're like, dude, why did you opt in? Like, makes no sense, right? So that might happen. So just be aware of that. Also, it's just a slower week. So obviously, people are, I wish they'd just like automatically admit people. People are going that may opt in, and to be honest with you, the marketplace is just flooded with ads right now. Like, I'm in the north side of Indianapolis. I don't know if you guys have a bunch of Orange Theories around you. I have 6 different locations running the same ad to me in one spot, right? Of all running 1 free month. And just so you guys are aware, and I'm not telling you have to spend more or anything like that. They spend anywhere from like $3,000 to $7,000. So there's just a lot of noise, right? With that, and products, like, people are just, the psychology of people right now are just thinking about, what can I, like, I just went through my kids' Amazon list. What can I get on sale for Black Friday? Products wise, right? They're not as much thinking about services. They're thinking about buying things a little more than for themselves. After Black Friday and Cyber Monday, things will normalize a little bit. And then going into January, this is a good segue. I'm becoming a good speaker. Going into January will be like our New Year's. And again, more noise, but what we're going to talk about today is how we differentiate ourselves. Now, we may not get as many leads as like the Planet Fitness, $0 down, join for a year for 10 cents, right? Or something crazy. Obviously, they're going to be spending $10,000, 5 to 10 grand in an area, but they're going to get people that are looking for just something low barrier to get in for the New Year's. So what I was talking about with one owner and what we came up as a team is really coming up with something like, what's the number one reason, or like we could backtrack and say, what's the main reason people quit our gym or don't succeed in New Year's? It's simply not showing up, right? Like they don't show, like anybody that shows up less than 2 times, we know that they're almost like a yellow flag, right? Because if they keep doing that for 3 weeks, and they show up 1 time and then 0, we know that the cancellation, let's be honest, is probably coming soon. So if we could backtrack and say, okay, all these other gyms are going to be putting out stuff with like free, super discounted, all that stuff, get started now, free New Year's. We're going to go the other route and say, hey, this is an accountability program, right? A strength and accountability program. And this is where it's going to be up to you guys, just like we do like the 12-week. And we're going to call it 12-week strength and accountability program. Like if you guys like have read Atomic Habits, which like 90% of people have, it takes 100 days to create a habit. So when you're sitting down with somebody, like, tell me about this accountability program. So what this is going to be is like, we know that like the reason you probably haven't succeeded in fitness is because you yo-yoed and then you stopped going. We're going to make sure you actually show up. This is a high accountability program with their strength program, that if you show up 36 times in the first 3 months, that's our benchmark, 36 times, 3 times a week, right? All you got to dedicate is 3 hours a week to this. You're going to get results. And then this is where you as the gym owner can play with this idea. I won't put it in the ad. Maybe I put it in some if you're like, definitely I want to do this. You could give the 4th month for free on the back end, right? And here's my thinking behind this. Because you're actually creating a longer LTV with the client. You're creating, rather than getting somebody in, let's be honest, like when I had both my gyms, when people would join, I'd be like, I can't wait for people in February and March to come, because those are the people that already went to Planet Fitness or somewhere else like LA Fitness and then already quit because they realized they're not going and they actually need something more. I liked February and March. I didn't like the January people. I'm like, how long are they going to stay? But if I say, hey, Matt, if you show up 36 times, dude, like you're going to get results here. But if you show up less, like don't come to me at the end of 3 months and be like, hey, I didn't see any results. I told you it was 36 times. We're going to hold you accountable to that. But here's what I'm going to tell you, man. After you show up 36 times, I'm going to give you a month free because you have created a lifestyle and a habit. And so you're getting a free month on the back end. Because if I just gave you the free month, the first month, there's no value in it. You don't have, like, we know when you exchange money, then you're going to show up. You have nothing on the table. You have nothing to lose, right? So we're going to do the first 3 months. I'm betting on you. You're going to bet on yourself. I'm going to give you that 4th month for free, right? So that's one way you could discount the 4 month. That's totally up to you guys what you want to do on that 4th month, right? So at the end of the day, I think it's a really great program that at the end of the day, if it works out really, really well, it could almost be a long-term evergreen offer. And I hate discounts. I offer like, whatever, but you could figure out a way to build that in that like, hey, 36 is the number. And so one of our coaches, and I don't know if you guys know Jeff from Friendship Fitness, he's got like 400 members. He would just sit down and like, that would be their thing, 36. And at the end of the 3-month meeting, he would be like, all right, how many times did you make it? Right? Because that was the number they needed to hit. So basically, if you guys within, your high level grow or however, what I would do is start running weekly reports every Monday. And then, because if you're going to say this is a high accountability program, you also need to like make sure that like you're following through on what we're going to give them, right? So like every Monday, anybody in that program that didn't show up 3 times, we're reminding them, hey, you only got in 2. You got to make sure you get an extra one this week, right? We need to hold their hand a little bit and also reward the people that came in 3 or more. Hey, great job. You came in 4, like, oh, you're 32 away. Just keep crushing it kind of thing. Because then you're creating that client that's going to stay for 2 years, 18 months or whatever it may be, rather than that 6-month client. So what we're really thinking about doing with the ad copy wise is like, you could go, look, we're not for the person looking to spend $10. We're looking for the person that's ready to invest in themselves long-term, that is going to show up and wants to show up and be accountable and held to be accountable so that they can create a lifestyle change for years, not just a couple weeks, right? So really going against the ad copy will be the main variable. It's just like, hey, if you're looking for a quick fix, we're not in. right? But if you're looking for something long-term, keep reading kind of thing. And I'm recording this because I say things and I realize, oh, that was pretty decent. I actually should write that down. Yeah, so that's the main thing I want to like just talk about today. We can vet out a little bit, but really, and then because as we started running copy towards like strength training, everybody's kind of getting on that bandwagon a little bit. Like everybody's saying strength is coming a keyword lately for a lot of people. Like I know, who was I talking to? That the F45 is now going to start doing, F45 is going to now start putting racks in their gyms because they're going to want to, they realize they're missing that element. They're basically missing that F45 and then going to CrossFit because they want something more. So to bridge that gap a little bit, they're adding, you know, squat racks and things like that to say that they're the strength gym as well. So if we can even go above that and say like strength and accountability as part of our program, I think it will stand out for you guys a lot. Thoughts, opinions? I don't like to just talk at people the whole time, just a heads up.
Okay, 45 for that.
Any
They're gonna hurt some people.
questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so you're breaking this down as 3 times a week for 3 months, right? And then if they're accountable to that, the gift or like the incentive is you get a free month, right?
Yep.
Okay.
On the back end, right? So that because like I said, if you give it to the free month up front, nobody's going to show up, right? And it's like I scheduled like a cold plunge sauna, which I mean, it sounds miserable in the beginning anyways. You guys like, no, dude, I'll give you 3 sessions for free. Guess how many I showed? And like, I didn't show up to any because it was free. And I was like, I'm not losing anything if I don't go, right? So I think definitely doing it on the back end. And then I don't want to make it, I never want to do anything bait and like switch at all. Like I don't want to say 3 month and they're like, when's the 3 month? You're like, oh, it's after you pay for 3 months, right? So ours will be geared towards more like lifestyle change. But we do want to put something in there like save $200 or something like that, right? So they realize they're getting something with that. So I'll create basically 2 templates. One, if you're just like, hey, I just want to set up a high accountability program. I don't want to discount my 4th month at all. And so they just go right into that accountability program and it's just the ad copy. Or for people that are like, yeah, I like that incentive. I'm okay with giving that 4 month away for free, having 2 different variations so that we can launch both of those to say like, hey, let's go kind of thing on each one of those. And then you can let your coach know or me directly. That way we have it out there. Sarah, go ahead. Sorry. Does that answer your question, JP?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I just have a question about accountability. I mean, even before I started working with you guys, you know, I would pester members, hey, where you been? You know, I haven't been here in a week, that sort of thing. And I've got a couple new people, actually one in particular that I'm thinking about who, since she finished her foundations, now she's coming to classes, but she'll cancel out of group classes pretty frequently. She's had some family health issues, so there's something going on in her life. And how much I struggle with how much I'm bugging these people.
Gotcha.
You know, I want her in, but I'd like to hear, you know, what kind of strategies you guys use in terms of calling, texting, emailing, trying to get them in person, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll go first and let some of these other guys go because they still own gyms and I don't. But what I would do is I would run a report every Monday, and then I would always make the message personal to them, right? Like I would never do templated, like, hey, you know, saw you missed, you know, and it just became the same thing all the time. So I would be like, hey, Sarah, I know you were out of town and you were visiting Indianapolis last week. I just want to see what day you're going to be in this week because I can't wait to see you. Right. So try to turn the negative more into a positive. So try not to say as much like, hey, you didn't come in. They're like, I know, I feel horrible about myself. Like make them excited. Hey, Susie, what day are you going to come back in? And we always use the example of like, if you know they have a really good friend in there, hey, Tanya's waiting for you. She can't wait to see you back in kind of thing. So I understand not pestering them, but the minute that you may seem like you're pestering them, but I will tell you that they probably really appreciate the follow-up. And it probably to them are like, I'm so, because once you stop, they're going to be like, man, Sarah didn't message me this week. She doesn't care. Right. So I would say, and I'll let some of these other guys go, but I feel like that would probably, you don't feel like you're pestering them. You're just doing your job. Anybody else have any input?
We do a thing where we post the week before, like, so Monday, we post like a shout out to everyone who made the number of classes that we recommend. So we shout out, like, incentivizing that they're there, right? The appropriate amount of times. And then if they're there once or 0 times, same, just a personalized message, try to reach out to them by Wednesday and be like, hey, like, where you been? What's been going on? Typically, we don't see any issue with like we don't see any issues with like people getting bothered by that. They're usually like, thanks, I really appreciate that. Or I will just remind them that like accountability was one of their big things. Like, hey, I remember you told me that like this is something that you really struggled with, and we're about 30 days in where habits start to fall off if you don't really dial down, and kind of just remind them of that like previous commitment that they made. And then you don't feel like you're coming from this place of like bother them. It's like, well, you told me that that you want this. So.
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point there, JP did, about like reminding them of their goal, right? I would do both, of like remind them what their goal was in the initial consult. And even if you can say a win that they've had since they've been there. Hey, I'm so proud of you when you did X. Like, I can't wait to get you back in and do this, right? And like the next level up kind of thing of that. Really good.
I actually created a which is it was silly when I did it, but it worked with actually a quite amount of members that I have. I don't know how to show you guys. I have it on my phone. It's the wanted. I don't know if you guys can see.
Oh, like a funny little, yeah, that's great.
It's like the wanted, and then I put the name, and then I say something, you know, MIA, whatever, and I just send it as a text. They laugh at it, they love it, and then it's been working. I don't even have to say anything more. They just like the fact that I took the time to find some kind of picture of them or whatever. I have a million pictures on my phone, and they love it, and they come back. So it's been working for me, something like that. I know it's hard sometimes, but I don't know. They love it.
Yeah, and we used to do something like a stupid like little GIF, and it's kind of like almost like you're doing right there. Like, and you know, the thing I would say, it's great to do that the first time, but if like two weeks comes, I would say too, like when you're like, all right, like they didn't come back in that week, it's like, all right, now they're definitely like, hey, I got to give them a personal phone call, right? Like I got to get them on call, and then I would reach out and just be like, hey, Sarah, it's Blake, like, saw you haven't been in for 2 weeks. I really want to check on you. Hey, can we set up a time for you to come in and sit down and we can just talk about what's going on? Because I want to get ahead of anything that's coming up. Because I really want to get you back in the gym. What day works for you, right? I'm on my plate. Martin, you got anything on that? You're a smart guy.
I have a little something to add if
Go
you
ahead,
can hear
man.
me. I think we're kind of frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're good.
All right, perfect. We do a few things for accountability. Number one, the first thing we do in our consultations is we make sure we promise them that we won't let them fail. And when you tell someone, like I always say this to my kids, don't promise anyone anything unless you're going to hold up your end of the bargain. And we promise them, so we never come from a place where that this is why you're coming here, because this is a coaching service. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to do everything in our power to not make you fail. That includes text messages, that includes phone calls, and all the such. As Blake, another idea. So specifically, we're going to have accountability. I'm actually going to add a $250 fee. I'm going to spread it out over the 3 months. And when I assign them to a coach, we do a PT first model, assign them to a coach. For that client that they're going to get paid on, and I'm going to put that right into my 3-week plan. So I'm going to put it right in there. A couple other big things. We throw huge parties at my gym. There was this CrossFit gym, CrossFit Grandview, and he was on some podcasts, and I was listening to these huge parties he has at his gym. Like they're way beyond anything I would do. But we have pretty big parties. But what we do at these are quarterly events. We always have a huge raffle prize. And in order to win the raffle prize, you have to do a couple things. One, you have to hit a certain amount of attendances in that month. And the raffle prizes are good. It could be a Yeti cooler filled up with a bunch of Earth Fed muscle supplements. You have to attend a certain amount of times within that 3 months, and you also have to attend the event. So those are just like kind of like 3 little pieces. But Sarah was saying something about pestering them. I just take that right out. I mean, it's the reason they're going to pay a couple $100 a month to come. Is $10 to $50 a month at a LA Fitness or Planet that we do to keep them accountable. And the pestering thing I hear from a lot of coaches, and we have to take that right out of our brain and stop it's not personal with them. It's you're paying for a service that you want to be held accountable. I promised you, and now I have to be accountable to that, and so do the coaches.
Sure. I like that. And I think, yeah, if you ever guys do prizes or contests, like you said, though, like making sure the prizes are something people actually want, right? Like, and making them big and like, yeah, it's an extra expense, but like, and keeping track of those accountabilities and like a scoreboard and stuff like that, I think are a really good way as well. Any other questions you guys have about, kind of the New Year's up to the New Year's thing like that? So here's one thing I'll add. It just came to mind. December, right? Like December is usually not going to be a gangbusters month, but the people that you will get in December, I find are one of the best clients because they can spend the money and they're not worried about budget during the time, right? Because they're actually like, so people are like, should I pause in December? And so I actually ran tons of reports. We actually get better cost per lead in December than we do in January, simply because everybody's waiting till January to run marketing. And I would rather run ads in December when the people that are going to come in aren't worried about spending an extra $200 when it comes to budgeting for, holiday gifts and things like that. So just know that like going December, like the leads might slow down a bit, but the quality should increase because the people coming in are opting in knowing that like everybody in December is like, what can I get for other people? If they're thinking about themselves, they have the money to invest, right? So really ramp up that, the lead nurture, not ramp it up. You guys have all of our senior M's. So like, make sure you're staying on top of the lead nurture. A lot of times you will run into like the vacations and things like that. So I'd say one big thing, if you guys don't use it already, one of my favorite things in high level is the little starred combo. If you click that starred one, that is all my maybes, right? So like anybody in that column are people that like are on the fence that seem like really quality leads. And every single Monday, I go back to that starred column and I'll hit them all up with personal messages because those are the people I need to get off the fence, right? And then adding tasks for yourself for those people like, hey, I really want to get started, Amanda, but I'm literally gone for the next 2 weeks on vacation. Okay, Blake, I'm going to reach out on this Monday. And the other thing you guys can do is just, I don't know if you guys know this, there's a schedule a message button in high level that you can be like, hey, I'm going to reach out on Monday. Just go ahead and schedule it so you don't forget. Hey, Blake, it's Amanda. I'm just reaching out. When can we get you in this week? I hope you had a great vacation when you went and visited your family in X, right? They're not going to know that you scheduled it 3 weeks ago. And then it's already done. You did it then because I'm one that forgets to do stuff all the time. So it's like, I got to get it done now. And so if you do those, so that starred combo, adding tasks, and then scheduling messages, like one thing we do all the time with us is like, if somebody's like, hey, I check back in on Friday with me, we'll just schedule that message right there for Friday and it's ready to go.
You don't know if Axel does that because I know it does it on mass
No.
text, but not. I don't know if it does on individual.
Unfortunately not, man. Axel and Walla, you got a ways to go.
Walla doesn't do it either.
No, I don't. Maybe adding a task for yourself, but definitely not scheduling.
Fuck, we're moving to Walla next week.
Yeah, I vouch for you guys to try to get to
High level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Walla has to develop everything out, so it takes a little time. But it's definitely a request I would definitely put in.
Yeah, high level.
Schedule
We use high level at
messages.
the other gym.
High level is amazing for sure. So I think the main things for you guys to think about, hey, what is going to be that 4th month, right? Like if we do the accountability new year, and I'm going to play with the wording. Just so you guys know, I don't like the word challenge ever. It always means a hard start and stop date in people's minds. I like the word program because program leads itself to a longer term kind of thing. So I will play with words like, and if you guys haven't watched that documentary called Buy Now on Netflix, highly recommend watching at least the first like 30 minutes. It has the Amazon storefront lady that developed the storefront for Amazon, and she would talk about how she would change, like, you know how you have to spend $25 to get it like that day or like overnight. They would change the color to 6 different colors, and within a week they would know what color worked. But all they would change is the number 25 color. So the thing when you guys think about ads is, I'm saying this is like a mindset thing. You don't want to change everything. Usually it's one variable, and then you test the one variable, and then you see, hey, because I could put accountability New Year's program, or I could put New Year's accountability program, and one of those is going to do better than the other. I don't know which one. And that's why I tell people, hey, don't change a bunch of stuff, only change one thing, because if you change more than one, you actually don't know what works. So, really going along the lines of like, we'll test out like 5 to 6 different copies. In the beginning, we'll use like 1 or 2 proven images that we already know, and then a couple headlines. When you test too many things, it takes too long to figure out what actually works. But it's like really good documentary, and like basically you think about and I'm really against this, but like a lot of gym owners, I had one ask me the other day, hey, should I start charging for consults? And I'm like, absolutely not. Think of Amazon, like frictionless, like Amazon in that documentary is like, we want to figure out how to get the package from you to like your house, like a conveyor belt as fast as possible. Right. And that's why they blow up, because I can click a button and it'll be here. Like I will have something in 4 hours and it'll be at my house. Right. Frictionless process. The friction happens when they step in your door and sit down with you, right? And then you vet them out. One thing that we've been getting a lot of lately is like gym owners being like, I only want qualified leads and like to talk with people that want to spend $300. It's just not the way the world works. There's one of my like business mentors is like, gym industry is the easiest entry port of any business. Like if you go back and think of how much you had to invest if you started your gym, it was minimal, right? To get in. Like mine was like, I started like this little room. It's probably 10K. And that's how you can start a gym. And so you have more competition than anything else. And I tell people all the time that like, you're going to have to go through knuckleheads. We only convert about 50% of people that like do calls with us. That doesn't mean we don't take the calls. We still have to meet with them, right? And then by nurturing them later on, we hope that they'll sign up with us, right? Because you never know. So one big thing for you guys is like, just because somebody says no now doesn't mean it means no forever. Because here's the thing. I always used to use this analogy, and then they like close down, so it doesn't work as well now. Bed Bath & Beyond. If I ever needed a 20% coupon, I know where it is. It's in my email box, but I would never unsubscribe from it, right? If you're always in their email box, even if they don't open it, your name is always in the forefront of their mind. Because if you had a room of 100 people and you said, hey, how many people want to get in better shape or lose weight? 95 people are going to raise their hand. So it just comes around to that emotional point again that they have a problem, right? And they're sitting at home, maybe this weekend, they wake up on Friday, gosh, dang it. CrossFit Newtown, I opted into them like 4 months ago. They've been in my email box every single week. Man, I don't feel good. Maybe I need to opt into them, right? I'll tell you guys a quick story that Sherman had a lady 12 months prior, didn't show up for an appointment, and then a year later signed up. And she said, it's because you've just been in my email box, right? So don't take people out of your email box week 1 that just say, hey, no, I'm not ready to join. Just put them in the long-term nurture. Just let them trickle and we'll be in front of them. What questions do you guys have? I'm not a talker like Rob, so.
Blake, I have a quick question about the New Year's ads.
Yeah.
All right. So in the copy itself, will it be promoting the the free month or a value added to it, or
You're cutting in and out, Matt. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna
My
do
question
two very.
was,
Yeah, I heard you. So what we're gonna do is do two variations, right? I'll do one that's like a free month, right? And I'll do one for the gym owners like, hey, I just really want a high accountability program, right? So that way you can let us know, hey, I am gonna do the free month or some kind of discount at the end of it. Or I'm gonna do just like
Yeah.
high accountability program and focus on that. And that way we will launch the ads dictated on what you want to do on the back end. We don't want to force your guy, like we get it, like we always say like, hey, we don't want to like do offers or discounts. I do think that sometimes like in a marketplace like January, there is value to also doing something that incentivizes somebody to show up as well, right? To keep to a long-term
Absolutely.
client. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my specific question to that was, is it okay? Like if in our 3-month packages, some of them include nutrition services. Now, sometimes I don't close them on nutrition services. I'll close them on a different 3-month package. Is this a good opportunity? Because we're always looking for another opportunity to upsell for me to say, hey, listen, if you sign up for this accountability program on your 4th month, we're going to give you a free nutrition consultation with a scan. So then one of my nutrition coaches can now have an opportunity to sell.
Yeah, for sure. I think for you guys, what you could do for us, we'll have a value in there, like save X. You could just give us that value and we can just change that number, right?
Okay.
Let's say your gym membership is $300. Savings of $300 with this accountability program.
Mhm.
It's not, here's the thing. It's not bait and switch if it's actually part of the program, right? Like
Yeah.
all you got to do, like, we're not saying a free 6-week, like we never said this was
Mhm.
free, right? And what we're saying is like, hey, this is a high accountability program for 12 weeks. You'll have a savings of $300. If you came in here just for 3 months, we're not the gym for you anyways, right?
Mhm.
And so, but if you do these 3 months and $36, 36 check-ins, you will save $200 on month 4, right? And so
Yep.
it's just leading them. And I would propose it like this all the time, like, hey, and people are like, oh, I thought it was just a 3-month thing. Hey, we're not for anybody that's just looking for 3 months. We're not a good fit for
Mhm.
you then, right? We want people that want to change their lives for long term. And let's go back to your InBody scan. I told you that this is going to be a 10 to 12 month process based on your body fat and where you want to get, right? Being realistic with you. And so I think that just leading them, and like you get it, Matt, like just leading them to the expectations is going to be crucial in that aspect.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else got any questions? Anything? Sound good? Like it? Dislike it? Feedback?
Oh, that's good. We're gonna do any like handling objections training or any like stuff like that?
Okay. Yeah. So week 3. So next week, so I started the call. Let me revisit that then. So this week 1 is always going to be me getting on and we'll talk about like live Q&A, questions about Facebook, what's going on, all that kind of stuff. Week 2, next week, we're going to get Tommy on. Tommy is amazing with ROI, metrics, tracking all that stuff, knowing that like, hey, I'm crushing it. How do I figure out my CAC? How do I figure out like how much more do I need to spend to get to X and projecting that? So I think like all you guys, like, I mean, I think Tommy's smarter than me. So like get on that call next week. It probably had more value than me. And then week 3, Sherman's going to go on December 11th and then talk about, hey, I need to wait till the new year. I need to talk to my spouse, budget, all of those questions on December 11th. And then the last one will be with either Josh or Amy or Dave, and we're going to pick a mentoring topic, whether it be coaching, systems and processing, hiring, whatever that may be, and we'll rotate through different topics.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have I guess a question for you, JP? Do you have a specific question right now? As ones that came up with objection handling lately?
Sorry, I wrote it down.
We got some smart people on this call that can probably help you now.
Pretty much. No, nothing specifically really. I've been trying to put my closer framework stuff together and make it really clean. So I'm just in the beginning. I'm just in the beginning of that. A lot of my objections are usually like, I'll have to think about it. I'll let you know, or just not getting a fucking answer back, right? Or
Gotcha.
or just
What are your questions right now that you have put together?
questions for like through the closure framework.
Mhm.
Oh, 1 second. Written down. So to start, like what got you interested, right? Like why are you interested in us? And then like, or like particularly like what brings you in today? Like why did you decide today you're gonna look to sign up for a gym, right? Or start looking for a gym. What do you want to achieve? How long have you been trying to achieve that? What have you done in the past? Why is it important to you? And then help me try to help me understand why. Like help me understand like why this is important to you. Like what's your perspective, or like why do you think losing 10 pounds is going to make XYZ better, right? And then that's really just like my starting the questions, right? My questions. Recap is more like breaking it down, like okay, so this is what you told me. So this is what you told me. Am I understanding that correctly? Right. And is that right? And I have to be like, say yes. And then get an idea of like, what were their past experiences? Right. So when did you do this before? What happened? What were some of the struggles? How long did it work? Why didn't it work? And one thing that I made a note on that I kept forgetting about is, circling back. So circling back on that past experiences until you get to the all of them, till they're all out. Like, okay, this is what happened the first time. This is what happened the second time. This is what happened the third time. And fucking God forbid, right? And I'm still a little fucked up on the sell the vacation, not the plane ride, the plane ticket. Like I'm still piecing that together. That's where I left off on Monday
Gotcha.
when I finished that.
Gotcha. I'm guessing that's something Rob said. So there's two things I would add, and I'm going to steal something from Sherman, so that way he can't use it, and then he'd be like, "Oh, I already heard that." So ask before you go into pricing. Ask, is there anything stopping you from getting started today? All right. Hey JP, and I would say the future thing. I'm guessing what you're getting at is, hey JP, man, it sounds to you like you want to go run an Ironman. If I can get you to run an Ironman, like imagine how good that's going to feel when you cross that finish line, right? Like, dude, I'm like, do you have an image in your mind at JP? Like, yeah, dude, I saw one of my buddies just do it. Awesome. Now keep that now what's stopping you from getting started today so we can get you finishing that Ironman, right? And then that way you combat the objection before you ever go in pricing. Well, I got to talk to my husband. I get it, man. Or I got to talk to my wife. I get it, man. Like, do you guys, like most couples have just an idea of like a set amount they have to talk? Do you have a set amount in mind? And they might be like, hey, that's none of your business. Like, or they might be like, yeah, it's this, right? Okay, I hear you. Does your wife, let me ask you this, man. Does your wife know that you're here today? First off, let's start there. Yeah, she knows I'm here. Great. Is she really on board with you doing this? Yeah, she's just really worried about the money aspect, because that's really what it is. Let's be honest. Okay, I hear you, man. So what are you willing to invest every single month to go to the future goal to do that Ironman? And I never say spend. I always say invest, because I think it has a different thought, right, in your mind. If I'm spending, I got to give it. If I'm investing, it's going into my health and fitness, right? So what are you willing to invest, JP, to make that work? And if you say something ridiculous like $50, I'm like, hey JP, let's be honest, man. I get it, but that's probably on your own, and that you've already done that. Let's go back to your past experience. You've tried that. You went to LA Fitness on your own. So do you have any wiggle room in this? You're like, yeah, but I really got to talk to my wife. Like, hey JP, here's the thing. I'm just gonna be upfront with you, and I would tell people this all the time. I know when you leave here today, you're gonna get in your car and you're gonna think of every single reason not to sign. And you're gonna because it's just gonna happen, right? Because it's an expense. So here's what I want you to do. If you're okay with it, I'm gonna step outside the room. Can you call your wife, because you said she's on board? I just want to give you guys some private time. I'm not gonna be in the room with you. Just go ahead, step outside, because I want to help you, and I want to get this decision done for you and get you to the point so we can start moving forward. And then they're going to do two things. And I had it like literally it's almost 50-50. They're actually going to call their wife or their spouse, or they're going to say, no, they're busy. And then you just know it's not going to happen, right? Because the whole goal of that consult is to get them off the fence, because the maybes will kill you and last forever, right? So going back through your questions, I think, getting more to like you're trying to do it, like getting to the deeper why, right? Like, hey man, you want to lose 20 pounds. Get it. Why is that important to you? Right? Like why? And I would say one thing that I would do, and I just say this because I talked to one girl before. She did her consults like standing up all the time. I like to do consults like seated in a comfortable area that it's private and to have a conversation like an intimate conversation. Right. So like always making sure you're doing that. But really finding some commonality really quickly with them in the beginning to put down any barriers, because it's intimidating to come down and sit down with somebody, especially like a metabolic. It's an edgy place, right? For them to walk in for the first time, like, wow, this is like black walls, green splattered everywhere. Like I didn't know what I was coming into, like, but it's cool. So, hey, JP, man, thanks for coming in. First off, I know it might have been really intimidating just coming in here today, not knowing me. I appreciate that. Hey man, tell me why you're here. Like, what are you looking for? Right. And just really natural conversation. I would always take just little notes and then be like, hey man, so what I'm hearing, like you said, I love what you said about like, hey, I'm going to repeat. Hey, JP, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. What I'm hearing, man, is you want to lose 15 pounds. You want to feel like you did when you were 20 and you're getting ready for running an Ironman, right? Like, all right, now I'm going to forecast like, dude, why is that Ironman? Why is that important to you? Right? Like, oh, man, it's just something I've always wanted to do. Like, it's a challenge. Great. Dude, in here is going to be a challenge, right? That's going to get you prepared for that. I had a 70-year-old guy that wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro for months. All we did is tons of step ups, right? That's all he wanted to do. He didn't care about other stuff, right? So like, I'm going to just only sell you to your goal and how I'm going to help you achieve that goal. And I think a question for you to ask is, do you see how we could help you? Do you see how this can get you to help to do an Ironman or to play longer with your kids? Because if they say no, well, we got to start back at square one, because they're never going to spend money if they don't see how we can't help them achieve the goal. So the thing you have to think of is like, I don't know if you guys ever read StoryBrand, like you have to become the guide between their goal, where they are now, and their goal. And then how do you become the guide is simply laying out the plan, right? And that plan is whatever steps that's going to be to get them to that end goal. And then the price usually becomes obsolete. So anybody else have anything to add to that? Oh, good.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm guessing Rob said something about like the plane and things. So I'm not sure what he was referring to, but
Oh, that's a Alex Ramosi thing.
oh, gotcha.
Pleasure framework stuff. Yeah, I listened to a bunch of him and fucking Grant Cardone. So
Yeah, and I think Alex is super smart. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's super smart. I think he might be a little. Everybody, here's the other thing I would say too, right? Sherman is more comedic and very blunt. I am a lot more natural conversation. So you also have to find your sales, like, how you feel comfortable doing it. Like Sherman will be straight up and he's very comedic. I'm more just like, hey man, I want to help you. Like I'm here to help you kind of thing. And let's be a good fit for each other.
Yeah, that, and then listen to Grant Cardone, but he's a psycho. Like he's an actual psycho, I think. But good at what he does.
Yeah, he does. He makes a lot of money. Yeah, so I think just doing those things, I think circling back and then future. And then I think the two things you could do is start adding, hey, is there anything stopping you from today before you ever get to the price? Because then if they say, well, it's the price, you're like, hey man, Blake, you just told me it was $200. You didn't ever said the budget was a problem, right?
Yeah.
So now we got to go back and visit that, right? So getting those questions out of the way early, and like people usually just say spouse because they know it's an easy out. But if you put it back on them, like I knew by asking, like, hey, if this is really important to you and your wife, like, why don't you just go ahead and give her a call so we can get you set up. Here's the other thing I would do, and I'm not saying this works a lot. Hey, JP, like I said, man, every time somebody leaves here, they're gonna think of 20 reasons. So let me do this. Let me make it easy for you. I'm not gonna charge you anything today. What I want you to do is go home. I'm gonna set up your billing to start in 3 days, right? Go home and talk to your wife. And if you want to cancel, just text me tonight. I will cancel everything out for you. I don't want, and I would put it back on a way that was convenience for them. I don't want you to have to call me, come back in, and we'll have to figure out another time to get you all set up. This way you're already set up in the system. You're all ready to go. I'm not having you sign the contract until we pay, but I want you to get you set up today if you're really serious about this, right? It was a way to get them off the fence to figure out, like, are they actually just like kind of BSing me, or they're actually serious about joining, right? And right then, and I knew they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know, I will," and you're like, "Okay, I know that they're a no now, right?"
Yeah. Fucking around, yeah.
You know, I think doing those 3 things will help you out a lot.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else got any other questions? Cool. All right, guys. So, Thanksgiving, you guys enjoy it. Don't do too much work. We will probably start. I want to get the ads out a little earlier than obviously January, so it has a time for Facebook to figure out what's working. So the way to think of like Facebook and like ads is like once you put it out like January 1, it's going to take a week or 2 to actually figure out what is actually working and for Facebook to learn. Facebook algorithm is way smarter than all of us combined. It's going to put it in front of the right people and the right copy and all that. So, but we do have to give it a little bit of time. So we'll probably launch ads towards like, second to third week of December to give it that time. So if somebody wanted to sign up early, great, get them in, right? But that way, come into January, it's already rolling with what's working, because like we did just for like a lot of Metabolics did like a Black Friday, and we launched them just like Monday, and it's like trying to figure out. So we'll get all that stuff done for you guys, and then we'll all chat soon. Thank you guys for hopping on. All right, see you guys.
All right. See you, Blake. Have a good one.
You too, Matt. See you, buddy.